Video game soundtracks go absolutely hard. Now, what goes even harder is the way that people can use technology to transform already existing music. One of the most common ways that artists transform music, most notably video game soundtracks, is through sampling. Taking already heavy-hitting background songs from your favorite video games, twisting just a bit, and then displaying their own sense of lyricism and poetry over the results. Some notable ones are Wiz Khalifa sampling multiple tracks from Chrono Trigger for Never Been, and Childish Gambino's usage of Donkey Kong Country 2's water levels. I think one of the most notable ways of transforming music is through AI. Imagine your favorite cartoon character singing your favorite pop song, or imagine your favorite late artist sing a song way after they've long passed. Through AI, it's now possible. Of course, this kind of technology could also be used just for simple dialogue or to make something completely original, like Glorp's SpongeBob Trap Songs series. Though the results are not always perfect, it definitely is fascinating to see. Now, what if we took an already existing song and remake it from scratch, while still paying homage and respect to the original masterpiece? Now, two certain YouTube videos that may have been recommended to you transform alternative rock and video game soundtracks into something completely new, but in directly opposite ways. The Minecraft soundtrack, but it's Midwest Emo by saddyowner, and Nirvana's Nevermind, but with the Mario 64 soundtrack by Something Is Real. I think the title of both of these videos should be explaining what you should be expecting. Today we'll be covering these album remakes, the process to make them, the artists behind them, some more work by those artists, and just my overall personal opinions. The first one we'll start off with is the Minecraft soundtrack, but it's Midwest Emo by Laureano Mueller, otherwise known as saddyowner.
I was born, raised, and I still live in Argentina. I'm 25 now, so yeah, I've lived my whole life here in Buenos Aires. I am a full-time music producer right now. As we speak, this last year I could finally achieve that. My uncle bought me a guitar when I was 18. Essentially, that's when I got like the bug to compose and to write music, and ever since then I never stopped. And now I've seen this huge success with this latest video that we're going to be talking about.
This video was recommended to me just a week before I started writing the script. The thumbnail depicts the house from American football's Self-Titled, which is another popular Midwest Emo album. The video released just this year in February 19, 2024, and has now reached over 896,000 views. A little less than 1 million.
I was actually expecting some success or some popularity from that video, but never the amount that it had. And at first I was like super excited and motivated and happy because I was getting all these new people to listen to my music, and I was responding to every single comment. But I really appreciate people and I am incredibly grateful with them. But I mean, it took me by surprise so much. I never expected to have this amount of success, because now I've found success in other things.
Me talking about it isn't going to do this album justice. You should go check out this album for yourself, because it is extremely amazing. I have been listening to it every single day ever since it was recommended to me. Before we talk about the actual mixtape, let me properly introduce the soundtrack to Minecraft. Just in case you don't know what Minecraft is a sandbox video game released in 2011 by Mojang, where players can do anything they want in a randomly generated blocky world. The soundtrack would be made by Daniel Rosenfield, known professionally as C418. Minecraft Volume Alpha would come from this soundtrack and receive high reception. Generally, it's very simplistic and ambient due to the technical limitation of the game's sound engine. 10 of the songs from this album were used for saddyowner's mixtape: Minecraft, Living Mice, Wet Hands, Cat, Clark, Dry Hands, Mice on Venus, Hagstrom, Subwoofer Lullaby, and Door. As C418 describes the soundtrack, he says it's a pentatonic chill pill. Many of C418's works are inspired by that of Aphex Twin. Now to briefly describe what Midwest Emo is. Despite the name, many wouldn't consider it actual emo, and many bands in this genre aren't actually from the Midwest. It's essentially an emo-inspired indie rock genre with unconventional vocals, twinkling guitar riffs, and arpeggiated melodies. Some popular Midwest emo bands include American Football, Captain Jazz, and Sunny Day Real Estate. The origins of Midwest emo go back to the 90s, with previously mentioned bands such as Captain Jazz. Emo, or emotional hardcore, was the response to the hardcore punk scene and merged with more softer indie elements. Other previously mentioned bands like American Football would borrow elements from math rock, which is a genre characterized by atypical rhythms and odd time signatures. This wave of emo music would die off as newer emo bands like Jimmy Eat World would take over. However, the 2010s would begin the Midwest emo revival. Bands such as Modern Baseball, Mom Jeans, and the Front Bottoms were taking elements from classic Midwest emo bands and taking a more modern spin at things. Now the genre has blown up since, mainly due to how relatable the angstiness of the lyrics are, but also because of how much of an internet meme it's become. A common meme format is where a Midwest emo would be played over a movie scene that may or may not be generally a sad scene, but because of the music playing behind it, the emotion behind said scene becomes even sadder. Now combining these two things is a brilliant move. Many people, including myself, grew up playing Minecraft, so the soundtrack to the game is both very iconic, but also very nostalgic. When listening to the music as a little kid playing the game, it's generally very relaxing, but listening to it now, it just makes us think about how simple life was back then, which adds a bit of a sad feel to the songs. With Midwest emo, the same descriptions would apply. Midwest emo is very melancholic sounding, expressing the artist's mental state. They bring a sense of longing, whether it be to be back into a simpler time, or to be with a lover. Now combining the two emphasizes what both the Minecraft soundtrack and Midwest emo try to portray. Many of the comments to this video would agree, referencing things such as how our old Minecraft dogs are still waiting, how a friend from Xbox Live hasn't been online in 7 years, or that a girl placed their bed next to someone else's.
Actually leaned into that. One of the things that hooked me the most about Midwest emo is the nostalgic, the longing feeling that it has. Really, I really can't fathom how someone can make you feel so many things with just a guitar riff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that feeling, it's something that I find in common with Minecraft music. You know, I think it's very interesting to make the relationship between Minecraft, which is a video game associated per se with a younger age, like early teens, and Midwest emo is representative of this early college life, you know, when you're like coming of age, like actually going out into life. And I think the people who comment on my videos are kind of experiencing that coming of age state of their lives, you know. A lot of people go to college at like 18, 19, which is very young, and some of them are like, I mean, me myself, I was not prepared to go to college when I went to college. So I guess it all is kind of connected.
The mixtape is able to be purchased physically, which I'll leave a link to that in the description. Not only should you support Saddy by listening to this album and his other works, but make sure you support him by buying the CD or cassette tape as well.
I got a message from a guy from Buenos Aires, and he asked me, hey, do you want to make tapes? And I was like, yeah, let's do tapes.
To Mueller, this was not just a meme, it was also a passion project. Mueller has done multiple projects in the past, such as song covers, turning popular songs into shoegaze, and his own solo work. Of course, the Minecraft Midwest Emo album is his most popular.
One of the sounds that struck with me the most was the sound of shoegaze. Like, I was so hooked into the idea of having a song be completely noisy and utterly dissonant, but at the same time so harmonious and beautiful. And I had never connected to music as much as I did when I first discovered like Loveless by My Bloody Valentine, for example, or So Vlacky by Slow Dive. I think I butchered the pronunciation, but there was a point in which I thought shoegaze was just like loud, noisy guitars, and that's it.
After releasing the mixtape, Saddy released a full behind-the-scenes documentary, which I highly recommend you watch. In the documentary, he answers a question me and many others had. Where was Sweden? It turns out, Alex made the set list, and Saddy just went with it. Another point I need to bring up from the documentary was that Saddy was caught off guard when the idea of a Minecraft Midwest Emo album was pitched to him, but he was able to make it work and kickstart a career that I hope goes really well for him.
At first, I thought that it was going to be really challenging, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought to myself that it actually made sense.
Within this documentary, Saddy goes very in-depth with the individual steps he made to create the mixtape. He had a strict deadline of around 3 weeks in order to complete the project. There were 3 personal guidelines Saddy set for himself. Make something that is its own thing, pay homage to the original soundtrack, and try not to be too obvious. The rest of the documentary goes more into the technical side of things that you're better off learning about through watching the video yourself.
First, I would, when I was doing the Midwest emo, what I would do was I would get a drum track. I would write a drum track with a MIDI track using a plugin with a drum loop like for 8 bars. And I would just get a guitar, figure out the chord progression first. And after I've done that, I would try to come up with variations on the guitar. You know, with Midwest emo, you play a lot of like arpeggiated riffs, which are not quite arpeggios because it's kind of licks, always trying to follow a chord progression that makes sense, but not really being super strict to it. If I felt like breaking it down or like going out of that chord progression to achieve something that I was feeling sounded better, I would do it because I had confidence that the melody will just keep everything kind of grounded, not grounded, but glued, and you will be able to still recognize what I was doing, you know? Since I'm a guitarist, I tend to go for the guitar always first.
Yeah.
After I have like a rhythm bass, I would just go to the guitar straight up and try to come up with parts that suit the genre I'm trying to emulate, you know? With shoegaze, I would just grab the guitar and my tremolo bar and just jam it down and slam it on an open tuning or something like that with distortion. I find that first ideas are not always the best in my case. Some people actually are fine with that and are actually very good at having intuition and coming up with an idea and actually sticking with that. Strat type guitar is not an original. Let's not look at the brand.
Yeah.
It's a Chinese Strat. I got it used when I started playing. I started playing in 2018 and I bought this like 3-4 months after my uncle gave me my first classical guitar. I bought it used from a friend's brother. So this is the only guitar I've used, I think, for most of my projects, the only electric guitar. I tend to play around with open tunings a lot when I'm coming up with Midwest emo things or shoegaze even. Capo is my best friend when I'm writing Midwest emo stuff because it's so easy to transpose. I run that through a DI box that goes into my audio interface. Yeah, I've always recorded through my interface. I use Reaper as my DAW since 2018. I've never stopped. And yeah, I process everything through Amplitude 5. I also rely on mixing to have my final sound. Like my sound is not just what comes out from the virtual amp. I also mix that. I process it with compressors and EQs.
So did that reception push you into making the whole documentary?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have done that if it weren't for the amount of people who were so interested. I mean, I've got a lot of comments asking me questions about how do you get that guitar sound or how did you do certain things. And I felt kind of in the obligation. It's something that I really wanted to do. I think it was on Hagstrom, since the song is in 7/4 time. I think it's Stay Home. I think it's in 7/4 time too, and it has this riff kind of like that. And I was like, I can definitely play that. So it's kind of in the same key, or I can just transpose it with the capo. So I snuck it in there. I was thinking of it kind of as an homage. Or literally just quoting the riff to Honestly on Dry Hands.
Since then, he's been continuing with the shoegaze recreations, and also released an album called Mom Said No, or otherwise known as Midwest Ero. Here he does something similar with the Minecraft piece, but instead of making Minecraft into Midwest emo, he makes Roblox songs into Midwest emo. A lot of the songs on the Roblox mixtape are very iconic, as they are linked with the soundtracks of popular Roblox games, such as Meep City, Work at a Pizza Place, and the ever so famous It's Raining Tacos by Perry Grip. Work at a Pizza Place was one of the first video games I ever played, so the Work at a Pizza Place song that was remade in this album, as well as the It's Raining Tacos remake, are personally my favorites.
The Roblox one was kind of tougher, because I've never played that game. That's all Alex. She picked all of the songs, and I've never heard any of them before. And so I was like, okay, what do I do here? I was kind of lost for that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Not having played the game, so not being really sure what emotions the songs were supposed to be portraying. Other thing was that the songs were more I want to say robotic. I mean, I was struggling to make it more dynamic and just have more movement, and I ended up making it kind of more my own than I should.
Now, the Roblox and Midwest Emo soundtracks weren't solo projects. The idea to make a Midwest Emo album based on both of these games was pitched to Mueller by Alex Tanuki. Alex made the setlist and co-produced the album as well. If the name sounds familiar, that is because they are also a music producer and a commentary channel running under two channels, Bad Moon Rising and Tanuki Alex. They've also made a tutorial on how to make the American football house in Minecraft.
Because Alex had commissioned someone to make a cover art for the record, but I thought maybe I can make something to use as a thumbnail that gets people to click more. And I remember asking my sister, can you build this house? And I said, make it the most beta Minecraft you can. She put like the FOV all the way up, and I edited on Photoshop, put some filtering on it, and just the American football font, saying Minecraft. I think that is a big part of the video having as many clicks as it did.
If it wasn't for them, the entire project wouldn't have existed.
She gives me complete creative control, and that's something that I appreciate so much.
Many of Saddy's work is also shoegaze in its own, with the usage of the screaming guitars and the whole dreamy, melancholic feeling. If you're into that kind of music, I highly recommend checking them out.
I'd say I'm really proud about my album, Melancholic Warped Up Memories. I had like 10 followers, and no one was really listening to my music. I was just making it for the love of music. And I felt like the obligation to finish it after I've started it. I think that's one project that I'm the proudest of, alongside the Minecraft project, because of what it means to me, like having a debut record and like a debut album, a full-length album.
Saddy has been making project after project in hopes of hitting it big, and thanks to this commission, he was given that opportunity. Before we end this part of the video, there was one more question I had to ask him. So do you have any involvement in the making of the soundtrack for the Minecraft movie starring Jack Black and Jason Momoa?
Damn. Oh, I can say.
You can't say?
I signed the NDA, yeah. No, I'm kidding. No, I haven't been reached by Mojang or Microsoft. I don't even know who owns Minecraft anymore. Nor Jack Black hasn't contacted me yet. Maybe he will. But no, I have no involvement whatsoever in the music of the Minecraft movie. So if they use any of my tracks, it's been either Alex or they are ripping us off.
Now on the other side of the spectrum, there is a guy remaking rock songs, but with the Mario 64 sound font, the complete opposite of what we just talked about, making these popular songs seem as if they were already part of the game or any other game from this era's soundtrack. Now many YouTubers and musicians played around with this concept, but the one I want to focus on is Something Is Real, who I'll refer to as Kalen. And the most popular of all these Mario 64 song remakes is Nirvana's Nevermind, but with the Super Mario 64 sound font.
My name's Kalen. I'm from Canada, from Ontario specifically. I was born in Vancouver. I moved to Ottawa when I was like 7 or 8. So I'm a kind of a contractor. Really, I've got a friend who does lots of like carpentry stuff, and he's just been teaching me a lot of skills over the past couple of years. So I've worked with him, and I've worked on my own now. The last project I've done is literally a chicken coop.
It was released on February 10, 2023, and now has over 3.4 million views.
I have shared revenue, so I don't actually make full revenue, but I'm actually lucky that I'm making any revenue from it at all. Basically, it pays my car insurance every month, which is really cool.
Oh, that's good.
The story of me finding out about this was I uploaded it, and then I basically then I went back to work, and like I was working. I literally just forgot about it. I totally, like, literally for like 2 or 3 weeks, I never checked my YouTube channel. It wasn't because I was like, all right, I'm not gonna check my YouTube channel. It's like, oh, I randomly have 2,000 subscribers. I'm like, I never thought I'd ever get this far. And now currently I have like 30,000. Oh, not 30,000, but like just shy of 30,000. I'm like this close to reaching 30,000. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I never thought I'd be here. On the one hand, it's like internet fame is a really weird thing because I don't get recognized in the streets. Early on, I was like, I was just like, I couldn't believe it.
Not only was this the first remake Kalen has made, he was also the one who popularized the genre, with many videos in this niche popping up afterwards.
And I am by no means the pioneer, but from what
Yeah.
I understand, what happened is that the success of my video, I mean, it surpassed everyone else's, and then basically that's when people started to do, and that's when it got more popular. Basically, there's a bit of a surge.
To give a bit more background, Nevermind is the second studio album released by the grunge band Nirvana, who at the time of release consisted of drummer Dave Grohl, who is now the lead singer of the band Foo Fighters, bassist Chris Novoselic, and the late singer and guitarist Kurt Cobain. The album itself was released on September 24, 1991, with many iconic songs including Come As You Are and Smells Like Teen Spirit, songs you've definitely heard at least once. Even if you know nothing about the band or not heard any of their songs, you've definitely seen someone wear a shirt with their logo on it. Nevermind is known for having a range of emotions, such as being dark, humorous, and even disturbing. Themes of alienation, anti-sexism, frustration, and anti-establishment are prevalent throughout the whole album. Just the album cover itself depicts a naked baby chasing a dollar, which is replaced with a blue penguin and a star in Kalen's remake. This album cover symbolizes the faults of society, as even a baby can't resist a dollar. This album essentially thrusted Nirvana and grunge music as a whole into the mainstream. For each of the songs, they all contain a rhythmic melody with a very distorted guitar in the background, things that would all translate into Kalen's video. Now when Super Mario 64 released, it was an instant hit, and so was its soundtrack. The soundtrack was composed by Koji Kondo, making use of the hardware limitations of the Nintendo 64. Using the same terms I used to describe Minecraft soundtrack, the soundtrack to this game is both very iconic and nostalgic to many. Even if you've never played the game, I bet you've heard something like Dire Dire Docks or Bob-omb Battlefields.
Nirvana's Nevermind is one of my favorite albums, and Mario 64 is one of my favorite games. And I think that's why lots of people are the same wavelength as me, and and that's why people like it so much. Because I couldn't do it with Ocarina of Time sound font. I've played around with it before, and it just doesn't have the same. It's a lot more orchestral and it doesn't have like those like guitar sounds really janky, but it doesn't have like drum percussion, like rock drums.
Now video game sound font remakes of already existing songs are nothing new. The artist Silva Gunner is well known for recreating different kinds of songs with all different kinds of video game sound fonts. Now that I'm thinking about it, Silva Gunner deserves a video on their own. Hell, even with Super Mario 64, one of the pioneers of this genre is OnForward, who made In Rainbow's Road, which is Radiohead's In Rainbows but with the Mario 64 sound font. The title being a play on not only the name of the album, but also the iconic Shrek Rainbow Road. This album recreation has gained hundreds of thousands of views over time, reaching people like Anthony Fantano and Johnny Greenwood, the guitarist for Radiohead. OnForward has always been making these Super Mario 64 sound font song remakes. He's done different remakes with various Radiohead songs, but he truly started making sound font remakes of Aphex Twin and Boards of Canada songs. Radiohead is an important band for this whole video. Not only were their works recreated by OnForward, but they're also a massive inspiration for both saddyowner and Something Is Real. Radiohead is an English alternative rock band that was formed in 1985 consisting of members Tom York on vocals, Johnny Greenwood and Ed O'Brien on guitar, Colin Greenwood on bass, and Philip Selway on drums.
Well, I'd say my most favorite band it's gotta be Radiohead. I remember listening to OK Computer when I was like 19.
Amazing album.
And it still is my favorite album of all time. Well, I'm actually wearing the shirt now.
Yeah.
But I used to be really into Skrillex and Deadmau5 and like all those like EDM artists. And I wanted to like be like them. I wanted to like make this music and play and do like festivals and stuff and all that. And then I started getting into more experimental music. Like I don't know if you like Aphex Twin and Boards of Canada and like Radiohead. I did one video where I tried to recreate. I did a switcheroo. I kind of did what Saddy did. I did a video game soundtrack, but with a certain sound, and I made a Dire Dire Docks, which is like the water level music, and I made it sound like I did my best to emulate what Boards of Canada sounds like.
Now going back on Aphex Twin, they're a renowned figure in the electronic music industry, having an innovative and chaotic mix of IDM, techno, and ambient sounds. Now for that last one, Boards of Canada is a Scottish electronic music duo that is known for their synths and their, wait for it, nostalgic and melancholic sound. After the success of In Rainbow's Road, he decided to make some more album recreations. This eventually caught the attention of Kalen, who made their own album recreation, this time with Nirvana's Nevermind. After the success of this video, overpassing the original video he took inspiration from, he's decided to make a sound font remake of Nirvana's In Utero. He then began continuing to make these sound font remakes, instead focusing on individual songs rather than entire albums. He's done some of Nirvana's other tracks, as well as tracks from different rock artists.
And it was really cool is the Pixies. I did a cover of the Pixies and they recognized me, which like, oh man, that's so cool because I'm a huge fan of the Pixies. They're one of my biggest inspirations. We're so tempted to like latch onto it and try to milk it, which I mean, I kind of did that. I did another album. I did In Utero as well, but people also enjoyed that. Basically, I'm back to doing, things that I want to do. And
yeah,
they're nowhere near as successful, and it's like it is what it is. It's a struggle that every creator like has to go through. Is like, am I doing this for fame or am I doing it for myself because I enjoy doing it? So a lot of people wanted Bleach and Incesticide, the 2 other Nirvana albums. I just didn't feel like it. When I uploaded the In Utero album, literally like a day before, someone uploaded their own version of it because they started on it sooner than I did.
Mixing 2 things such as Super Mario 64's soundtrack and Nirvana's Nevermind seems like something that doesn't work, but actually works really well. The different feelings that alternative rock tries to portray, whether it be being really mysterious or being very hardcore, can be complemented very well by Super Mario 64's sound font. Super Mario 64 is a game that revolves around many different levels that take place in unique settings, so the sound font can be very diverse, from being spooky to being joyous, and also being quite relaxing. Something like the Sliver remake, which is already a wacky song in its own, fits perfectly over the Koopa races, while something like All Apologies could go perfectly over Bowser's Dungeon. Just like how the Minecraft Midwest Emo album really emphasizes the feelings that both Minecraft soundtrack and Midwest Emo try to portray, this album recreation by Something Is Real does just that as well.
There are other creative choices that really stand out to people that they appreciate, like using Mario's screaming instead of Kurt Cobain screaming, for example. Try to just recreate the thing, but with elements from the game, And it's like, oh, someone's screaming, well, Mario screams, so use that instead.
Oh shit! I wasn't expecting that.
Of course, the lyrics, which give the song meaning, have to be lost as a result of these 2 things combining. It's very much why a lot of the song recreations are a lot shorter, as it gets repetitive without lyrics.
I start off with downloading a MIDI file from somewhere. They can be hard to find sometimes, so it's always random places on the internet that I can never track back to. I'm not an expert in audio engineering, but I know the basics of it. There are ones that I literally completely have done by ear, and it's because I know how to play them on guitar, and then it's like, okay, I just transpose the guitar chords in my head onto the MIDI in the computer. The only one on Nevermind that's from scratch doesn't count in my opinion, which is Endless Nameless, because there was a MIDI file for it, but it made no sense, because if you know the song, it is like just noise pretty much. So I'm like, I'm not using that. I'm just going from scratch. I use the sound of the scary piano. So I'm like, I knew immediately that that's what it's gonna be, because that's the closest sound in the games of this noise in the song. The real song is like 6 minutes long. My version is like 2 minutes long. Like, I'm not load 6 minutes of pure noise. Smells Like Teen Spirit, the first track, I shortened it because Smells Like Teen Spirit's like at least 4 minutes long, but my version is like 3 minutes long. I took out literally a whole entire verse.
Generally, the reception to Kalen's album is very positive. Some comments on the video I'd like to highlight describe how it's the most 90s thing ever, how the synths truly make them a new wave band at heart, and how Breed fits perfectly for a boss battle. However, I think it's important to note, Kalen's main stake isn't just in these Super Mario 64 song remakes. Kalen has many original pieces of his own you should check out. He's done indie rock, as well as a lot more techno-based pieces. If you listen to his music, the Mario 64 sound font is still very prevalent, and that's because he's managed to use it to give his own work a unique sound.
The most iconic ones that people really recognize, that like bell sound, I love it. I think it sounds amazing. It has a special place in my heart, and I know lots of other people feel the same way. And integrate it with other non-Mario things too. I'll use different drums and whatever.
Kalen is not only an artist in terms of music, he's also an artist visually.
I would consider myself someone who is able to draw. And when I was younger than 14, I wanted to be a cartoonist, actually. So I used to read like Garfield comics and Calvin and Hobbes. I wanted to have like my comics be in a newspaper, you know, like that was my dream. Especially with the tools I have now. I've tried to work on like a graphic novel and stuff. If I was gonna work the rest of my life only building chicken coops or whatever it is, but at least do one thing, it would be this one animated short film that I have in my mind, and it could be between 15 minutes to 40 minutes long. I don't know how long it would be. It would be by far the biggest project, and it's kind of one of those things. It's like if I did that, I could die peacefully, basically.
If I were to describe Kalen's work, I'd say it's very authentic and experimental.
The guy who made the Neverhood, this guy named Doug Tenaple, he's done a lot more of he's done a bunch of graphic novels. I actually have a bunch of them on my shelf back there, and I think that they're awesome. They're some of my favorite graphic novels ever.
When we go to the beginning of Kalen's YouTube channel, there are some unsettling videos with psychedelic animations and complex instrumentals.
When I first started making like rock music or whatever, I had a really weird taste in music. And I made some really like weird music. It's not just like, oh, weird as in that's experimental. Like, no, it was like goofy. It sounded like clown music. I was just doing like music with no lyrics and just vibes and stuff that people could listen to.
We go down even further and we see more of his fun animations, as well as many original music that goes a more alternative rock grunge route.
Okay, so my software, so as I said, I use Persona Studio One. I use this MIDI keyboard, which is like the cheapest Akai MPK, whatever this thing is. Native Instruments Complete Audio sound interface, also the cheapest. I have a Shure SM57 microphone. I have a bass guitar, a Fender Stratocaster, which is one of the main ones I use, and this is one of my favorites. This is a baritone guitar. I also have a really janky acoustic guitar that's all I got for free. It's like if you know how to use software well and you have like a creative vision, you can get really far.
One of his more popular animations is doom scrolling, which was on the front page of Newgrounds for a while. I think both the title and the video speak for itself.
It's very negative. It's like this guy doom scrolling on his phone, and he's like, "Oh man, life sucks." And then a guy who's me tells him, "Stop doom scrolling. Go outside." Then he goes outside, and all the awful things happening on his phone are happening right outside his door.
Going back on his songs, he has a few creative titles such as "Thank God I Don't Have What I Want" and "Control Z, What Have You Done to Me." In regards to his lyrics, he has a couple notable ones. Seatbelt has a lyric that says, "There's a God-shaped void in everyone," and Mr. JK has one that says, "Hey now, you're losing my mind. Why don't you sort it out and turn to Christ?" You can really tell there's some kind of deep emotion and spirituality that Kalen is trying to portray through his art.
Think of lyrics. How about just bitch and complain about your life and how depressed you are and that you're not making things that you want to be making. There's this one comment on that one of the videos on the Seatbelt music video. So someone just like, just make art and be happy or something along those lines. And I'm like, that guy's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's very strange because sometimes, funny enough, one of my biggest fears is being successful. I'm constantly reminded, you don't need to worry about that. There are days where I actually legitimately am like, I've made songs and I like read way too deeply into lyrics that I wrote that I'm like, are people going to read into this too deeply and like trip out and have a bad time? I know what I mean by these things, but I don't know how other people will interpret these things. I do agree that art obviously is self-expression. I've done this many times. As I literally just said, Seatbelt, a prime example. I don't want my self-expression to be in vain, I think is the best way to put it. I don't want it to be meaningless. Is there anybody out there who cares about what I really gotta say? There's a God-shaped void in everyone. That's a perfect example of like the lyrics that I want to write. I fall short of that constantly. I want more lyrics that consistently point to things higher, and like that's part of my self-expression, I'd say. There's so much more important things that don't feel as gratifying to our egos, I guess is the best way to put it, that are so much more important because it's like that's really what life's about.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Casey, for the space and for giving me my first ever interview. It's been great. I've had a blast. And my audience, I want to thank all of them for the chance they've given me and how they still listen to my music every day. And they keep on supporting me through Bandcamp every day. And that is priceless to me. And I will never be able to thank them enough.
Humility is like one of the most important things that anyone can have in their life. I literally think love and humility are the the two things that really make or break a person. It's a narrow
Yeah.
path to
Mhm.
to really live out a life that embodies those two virtues. Jesus loves you. That's all I'd say.
I'm glad I got to do research and conduct interviews with both Something is Real and saddyowner. As many would say, art is a form of self-expression. People like saddyowner and Something is Real started making these pieces for fun, and it would take one creative idea to really flip their worlds. To foreshadow a video I'll be making in the future, I really relate to both of these guys. Like them, I made a video that twisted an already existing song and spun it to fit my own interest. As a result, the video blew up. Just like them, I didn't try to drag it out. Instead, I decided to focus on making my own content at a cost of a smaller audience. I really want to thank both Saddy and Kalen for giving me the chance to interview both of them. Prior to writing the script, Saddy's video was recommended to me. Me being a fan of both Minecraft and Midwest Emo, I decided to check it out. And since then, I've been playing it non-stop. Now with Kalen's video, it was a video I've already seen, but it got recommended to me shortly after Saddy's video got recommended to me. At first, I didn't think too much of it other than it was cool, but researching for this video and interviewing Kalen myself, it really gave me a deep dive behind the psyche behind these projects. The dynamic these two videos and the artists have really intrigued me, so I decided to say fuck it and just interview both of them. I gave them both an Instagram DM, not knowing they'd respond pretty quickly. I'm still surprised by the fact they accepted the interview in the first place, so I really want to thank both of them again, as they really are amazing artists. These two are more than just the music they make. They are also very genuine people just trying to find a place in the world against the cruel indifference of the universe. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe and comment down your thoughts. This was probably my biggest project yet, and I could see them getting bigger than this. The semester just started for me, and I'm also working a part-time job, so uploads won't be coming as frequently as I want them to be, but I'll try my best. I'd also like to announce that me, alongside Disk and Ethan from the tier list videos, are starting a new podcast. We call it Z-Tomo. Just a couple of guys just reliving their childhoods, talking about things from the early 2000s and the early 2010s. If you want to walk down memory lane, or just a chill podcast to listen to in the background, feel free to check it out. Take care of yourselves, and have yourselves a damn good one.